this computer. All right, there we go. We are live.
Yes, we're
Yes,
live.
yes, we are. We are. All righty. It is. Hey, everybody. Good evening. It is 6:30 on this fantastic Wednesday. I hope everyone is doing well and having a fantastic day so far. So this is the first time I'm actually going live with my podcast. So a couple of you have actually heard my podcast on Spotify called "It's the Be About It" podcast. Because if you know me, you know you got to be about it in education, baby, because that's what it is. Okay, so this is my first time actually recording and actually doing the video. And Principal Davis has been gracious enough to join in.
Of
And
course.
grace us with her presence this evening. So thank you so much, Principal Davis, for taking the time to be on the Be About It podcast with me today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Love to be here.
Yes, yes. So we're just going to jump right in, y'all, because if you know anything, you know that's what we do. And if you know Principal Davis, you know that's what she does too. Okay.
Yes.
So there are welcome to the Be About It podcast. We're going to explore some challenges. And if you listen to it, let me go back a little. If you listen to the podcast, you know that we discuss, or I discuss challenges that are going on in urban public education, and why they exist, and what are some things that we can do about it to support our urban school leaders to navigate through the challenges in urban schools. So today, as you know me, I'm your host, Dr. D. Our special guest, Principal Davis, is going to take us through her journey. And let me give you a little background about Principal Davis. She is a dedicated urban school leader who has been in urban schools in various capacities, but started, I believe, her urban leadership journey in 2010. But has been in urban schools in other ways, you know, as a teacher and other things. So urban school leadership is her passion. And I really wanted to bring her on to talk about her journey and some of the challenges that she's faced and how she has, pulled through those challenges and still continues to lead in the way that she does. So again, thank you, Principal Davis, for being here.
Thank you.
So let's start by exploring some of the outcomes and like challenges that you have had in the past, because I know you've been in leadership for quite a while now. So just talk about your journey right now and some things you've experienced as a school.
It's nice to talk about this now because actually in my 20th year being an educator, in which I love very much. Thank you. Yeah, to celebrate it. I think when it comes to leadership, you know, just as you're growing as a leader, learning to, you know, make sure that data is, you know, at the forefront, that academic success is at the forefront for your children, which is what I always strive for. And, you know, it's challenging in the beginning when you first become a leader, letting that become your focus as you're finding your way. And so some of the challenges were just trying to learn that, you know, get my own path, because you kind of learn from other people, you know, as you come up, and, you know, just what works for one doesn't always work for everybody, right? And how one leader does something. So some of the things that I've learned or to grow in terms of outcomes and improvements is just having like a stronger sense of accountability, you know, for myself and for others. And so if we have goals set for the year, making sure, well, how are we working toward that? Is everything that we're doing, are they steps toward growth in those areas, and trying to keep that at the forefront? I'm more focused on improvement now in this year in my journey, right? things that I am making sure that I'm doing often, like I'm making sure that data is at the forefront for my staff. Like we are always talking about data. We're putting it in our weekly newsletter. We are talking about it in our collaborative planning sessions. And the evidence is, like on the walls. So when they come to collaborative planning sessions, there's evidence in the room. Like, what are we talking about? What are the outcomes? What are our goals? That's always at the forefront. So, over time, you're always going to have challenges. It's about pushing through and making sure that I am now like really working with data at the forefront.
Yeah.
Everything that I do, like, is what does the data say about that
Yeah,
move that you're making? Is it going to support your students in the long run? Is that going to get us toward our goal? And if not, what adjustments do I need to make?
Yeah.
And so
That's
being reflective about that.
That's awesome. I heard you touch on, you mentioned something about your own learning, like your own path, because a lot of times, like you said, we pick up naturally from other folks and try to find out like, really, what is my leadership style? Like, because I'm boisterous. I remember when I joined New Leaders for New Schools, and Maria, because I'm loud, I'm from Brooklyn, I'm boisterous, I'm all those things.
Yeah.
I remember telling Maria when I was going through my training, like, I don't know if I could do this. Like, I really started second guessing myself, because I'm like, every principal I've ever known didn't look like me, right? They didn't talk like me. They weren't loud and boisterous. They didn't like going to a party every now and again, like at least in my mind, that's what I saw, because they were so stoic and so serious, right? And it really scared me when I first started my journey. And Maria just said, just be yourself. And that's you finding your own voice, right? Like so can you share how you do that?
That's a lot of reflection. You know what I mean? It's just about reflection over time. And the passion that I have for being a better me. And so I think that along the way, as a leader, and just being very humble, because you make mistakes along the way, right? But in every mistake that is made, if a mistake is made, what do I learn from this? How can I become a better leader from this? Okay, this is a stepping stone. This is what I learned from that. And the next time I'm going to do it even better, and I'm going to be proud. And so that's really it in terms of me, what I felt like I went through finding my own voice, because you tend to kind of like try to copy what other people are doing. Well, that worked great for Dr. Thomas. I'm going to do the same thing too. But that might not necessarily work for me, because that's not who I am.
Right.
But the thing for me is making sure that my goal is and always is about my children. And so I put them at the forefront, and that's what I have to lead to, so, I'm still who I am, I'm still that, girl from Brooklyn, New York. I still have my personality, but I'm humble, I'm reflective, I learn along the way. And I'm also very transparent. I think that's a part of it. The transparency, where I am transparent with, my stakeholders about what's happening and how we're going to get there. And I think that's what's key, right? And then I'm being true to myself. That's really it. And I think that's why I enjoy the ride, along the way. You learn that over time. You don't learn that in year one.
Yeah. I was just about to ask you, like, okay, so you're at this point, you're 20, right?
Right.
So that wasn't you at the beginning when you first stepped into leadership. So go back to when you first became a school leader. What was that?
So when you and trying to remember back, my voice wasn't as strong. It wasn't as confident that I am now. There wasn't a lot of me saying no. It was just like, okay, not sure. Confidence is built over time, where I had to trust myself in the decisions that I'm making. Am I making this in the best interest of a child? Yes. Go forward with your plan. That's it. And so in the very beginning, it was a lot of asking a lot of questions, which is not a bad thing, because you're not sure. So let me ask someone else. And building the confidence over time, building my voice over time, my strong voice. And I think people around you start to see that shift,
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, she said no, like she's not playing.
Right,
No,
right,
I'm
right.
not. Because we got to remember what the goal is. And
Yep.
so I think from year one of leadership, like back in 2010, when I first became a school leader, to looking at who I am now, I'm still the same, like Principal Davis, just with a stronger voice.
Yeah.
And I think the time in terms of the decisions that I make shortens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't take as long to necessarily think about things. Even on processing, I process a little differently
Yeah. Yeah.
now.
You built
And
that muscle.
so
You built that
you
muscle.
build that muscle. And then a lot of professional development over the years, attending a lot of good professional development, it is really key.
Yeah.
And coaching, and I'm sure we'll get into that, but like a lot of that is important to me, and I can see the change over time. So I'm proud of the path that I've gone through, the journey that I've been in. And so, like, even if someone is kind of listening to this now and thinking like, do I want to become a school leader, I would say, like, go for it.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to have all the answers in the beginning.
That's
but
right.
Be strong and be passionate, and it will definitely get there.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned about trainings. So can you talk a little bit more about, you said over the years you've gone through some training, some professional learning.
Mm-hmm.
You know that adult learning is a personal growth thing, right? So and everyone doesn't learn in the same way. So can you share a little bit about your journey, your growth journey, in terms of learning the skills as a leader, how they've been developed? What were some of the key points for you that really stood out? What pieces do you still use, right?
Yeah. So one of the main things is learning what works for me in terms of my own personal growth as a leader. Mm-hmm. Reading was key for me. So even though I've attended a lot of different trainings over the years, whether it's about curriculum, climate, equity, all different topics, leadership, adaptive leadership, facilitative leadership over the years, all of those things you gain something from. You take a nugget. Everything you go to, it might not be the greatest PD, but you get a nugget from that. Like, wow, that's really good. Let me write that down. That's something I want to keep in my back pocket.
Yeah. But
reading over time too, listening to a lot of leaders coming up, whenever someone mentions to me like, oh, I read this, this book, such and such book is a great, book for leadership, or check this out because this is great for new school leaders, or this book might be great for a transformational leader, or this book is great for equity. I write it down. I look it up. Audio books have been my friends. I do a lot of commuting and taking my time to just listen to leadership books along my way, along my path. That has been helpful for me, because what I feel like has happened over time, you start off one way, but if you don't take the time to do your own research, continue with the times, staying up with the articles that are online, reading these new books, finding out who these new authors are, and even if you're not reading the whole thing, portions of it, so that I'm growing on the inside. Mm-hmm. Because if not, you stay the same leader. I would be the same leader I was in 2010 when I first started.
That's right.
If I didn't, because that's all you know. Yep. Right. And so for me, attending professional development sessions when I can, but also just doing a lot of reading for my own personal growth and talking to other leaders. That's another big thing. Like having those adult to adult conversations that's, not someone that you supervise, but someone, or a colleague that's in the work with you. That's huge. Yeah, that's huge.
It is.
Doing a lot of unpacking with other people is important to me.
Yeah, that's so key. I'm glad you said that, because you really have to stay like you have to stay in the know in order to like really make the impact on the students in your building, right? Because like you said, for me, and I've said this since we've ever known each other, the North Star, the big fish, the big fish. Students. Everything else is just noise, baby.
What? The minnows.
So does that have anything to do with students and instruction? Okay, then to somebody else, right? Like you have to build that muscle of you know, knowing the pieces that come up that serve as a
Mhm.
distraction for you. And the fact that you are actually, you know, and you've always been that way. Like, what am I reading now? What's this book? I remember when we were
Yeah.
working together and it was a book, was it Difficult Conversations? No, it was a Who Moved My Cheese.
Oh, my
Remember
cheese.
that?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
You've
Short but
always been
powerful.
that. Say again.
Short but powerful.
And still relevant today. Like people
Absolutely.
should still be using that book today,
Right.
right? Um,
Right.
and so I'm so glad that you have, you know, developed this habit of making sure that you're staying in the know, staying in the know. And
Yeah.
so talk, can you share a little bit about how, because you participate in the data intensive program. And so
Yeah.
can you share how the data intensive program has impacted your work as a leader?
So absolutely. Very powerful for me because I guess because of just how reflective I am and always trying to be better, right? And some days are gonna be great. We're like, oh, I'm reflective. I've learned this, I'm doing better. And some are not. That's just the truth in it. And so with the program, what has helped me a few things. One, I would say how much it has helped build my confidence. Okay. And what I'll say about that is having weekly conversations and some monthly conversations, having a coach and a colleague that you can compare notes to and understand other ways of how to do things. I'm learning something quickly. um, Resources being provided to me that are every single week. Here's a resource for you. This is what you should be working on. This needs to be at the forefront. Articles, videos, um, infographics, uh, next steps, spreadsheets, all these things. I'm just naming a few
Right.
of the things that are being provided to me that helps me like right away in real time my upcoming week. So what it does is it helps take off some of my plate in terms of my planning. Like I'm not having to research all these different things, find all these things, different articles.
Right.
I log in. I have all these resources provided to me that I'm like, okay, this is what I can use with my leadership team. This is perfect. This is what I can use with my team. This is what I want to convey to them. And here are 2 videos that's right aligned
Right.
with this data plan that we have. So now right away, now I'm just working on my agenda. I'm not doing all those researches and digging. The work is being done. That part is being done for me and kind of like hands it over. And then I can focus more. So like my confidence has really gone up because I'm spending less time doing all the digging and more time saying, this is what we have. This is, how I see it. I want to know your thoughts and let's action plan now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a part of what has helped me. I will also say helped me become more like resilient because before I think, when you get bogged down with the outside noise, like you said, focusing on a big fish, I'm focusing on the minnows a lot because a lot of things kind of used to take me away from the work.
Yeah.
But having this program keeps me back centered. We get these weekly or like little check-ins. That's so helpful for me. It's like, hey, just checking in with you. Want to make sure you still focus. Make sure data's still at the front. I'm like, oh, let me get back focused. You're right. You're right.
Right.
You're
Right.
right. Thank you for that check-in. Thank you for that check-in. Like, let me get back focused because you'll let the wind take you off or to
Yes.
those minnows. And so
That's
those are
right.
some of the things that I would say why it's so helpful to me. And I'm so thankful, to have the program so
Well,
that I can be better. I really appreciate it.
I'm so glad that you're finding value
Yeah.
in the program. You mentioned something about confidence, and we know
Mhm.
that confidence is key. And confidence is a feeling that we have, right? And it's a way in which we think about ourselves and how we carry ourselves. Can you share a little bit about how maybe your staff, has your staff noticed anything, or your leadership team specifically? Have they noticed any changes in you that they've mentioned?
I would say 2 things have happened. And even one conversation that I had today where a staff member said to me, because I was saying, like, I'm taking time to like really like slow down a little bit because I'm moving, but I know that you all can handle that, whatever. And she said to me, like, I noticed that you've been doing that and you've been taking like the time even for yourself. So that's good. But she's like, you're so focused,
That's good.
this year. So I was very glad to hear that. Not that we were talking about that, but
Yeah.
for her to say that
It's
she saw that.
affirming.
It's affirming.
Yep.
What I would say that I would hope that they see is that I am walking the walk and talking the talk.
Yep.
Right. And it's not a bunch of like smoke and mirrors at all. I'm very serious about this and with love, So I would hope that they would see like, wow, like everything that she said we're going to do in August, because usually what happens is sometimes, August starts, we all get back to school. We set all these goals, all these things are happening. And then what happens after that? Like, do we actually do it? Do we stick to this, or is it just the August, like, kind of thing happening? And we have. So I'm hopeful that they see that in me, and they feel confident with me being at the helm, because I haven't let up yet at all. And don't
key.
plan
That's
to.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
so you mentioned, I want to ride this wave that you said about, okay, you plan in August, and then you have this great flow because everyone's got this energy at the beginning of the school year.
Yeah.
And then the honeymoon period is over, right? Around October, November, people get tired. December, people, like, everyone's in holiday mode.
We get tired.
How has that changed? Like, if it has changed, like, what is the difference between, say, previous years and this year with you starting off with the program, the data intensive program? How has that changed your focus, so that you're not dropping off with the things that you planned in August, or has it?
That's a great question. And so I would say that this year, what's different is the consistency. Okay. And so, yes, last year I feel like I was a good leader. I still feel like that now. What I feel is different is that I am a good leader that is being more consistent with what I'm saying. Nice. Okay. And so, where before I put it out there, like, we all know what our goals are. We all know what we need to work on. And I'm kind of like leaving that for you. I want you to take care of that. And I'm going to go kind of take care of these other things to make sure that we stay afloat. Right. But I can't do all the things. This year, I have this with the program, I feel like I'm being very consistent with what I'm looking for and how long I stay on that path. So I have collaborative planning every single week. I have a team that takes care of that. We not only just kind of plan for 1 week, we're planning like at least a month out in advance, right? So the month is planned out in terms of what is the next set of weeks? How are we planning it out? So we're not scrambling like, oh my goodness, collaborative planning tomorrow. What are we doing?
Right. You're being proactive.
Proactive with, thank you. That's the word. Being proactive, being very intentional about it. And so when you do that, you can focus on the data, because now I'm not trying to scramble to find something. I already know what our next 4 weeks are going to look like. And we try our best to share that with the staff too.
Right.
Because then it's like, oh, is that what we're doing next week? Okay. I think the other piece is the consistency, and also I would say helping me with balance. Yes, I have to stay focused on this data. I know that. I know that Dr. Thomas is going to be like, but what's the end goal? What was the outcome? How did you get to that? And at the same time, you just mentioned, this is like the end of the season. People are getting tired, right? They're getting burnt out. It's a lot of work when you stay consistent. It's a lot of work when you have collaborative plan every single week. We have a data binder. You need to bring your binder. You need to look it up. You need to turn to the data. What the percentages? How are you? That becomes a lot. So I tried my best this year. I'm staying consistent, but I'm also listening. When are they too tired? Or do they need a break? Because you have to tune into that human side also. Right. So for next week, for example, we are coming down after Thanksgiving. It is like rough. We're doing all these things. Next week, we adjusted a little bit. Okay, we're coming together on Monday. We have our student support team meeting. We're going to do that together because I can see some support is needed there. And then instead of going Monday and Tuesday, we're going to have office hours. So we're doing the work together Monday.
Right.
I'm giving you Tuesday to work on your own, or you can come for office hours because that's the support you're really requesting.
Yeah.
And know that you know what I mean? So it's consistency, adjustment when needed, balance for me and my staff.
Yeah.
And I feel like they see that, like she sees me. Yeah. She sees I'm coming down, I need some help. So that's what's,
and it's so critical too, because it's like you actually, you know, you're on the balcony view and you can actually see what they are needing in that, like in those moments, right? So you're able to make the pivots and adjustments where you need to, which is so critical for sustainability, because this work is hard. We got Black and brown babies who are failing by the droves, and that is our North Star. That's the big fish, period, point blank.
We want to make change.
Exceptions about that.
Yeah,
but
we want to make change.
Wrap your arms around the people who are on the, like, boots on the ground doing this work. Yeah. So the fact that you're doing that is beautiful. It really is.
And I would just add to that, being an active participant in it. And so I am there at the meetings. You know, yes, as a leader, you can't attend every single one, but the majority of them, I think my staff would say, like, she's there, you know, for my content areas that I am supporting, I'm there. I'm sitting at the table with them. I am looking at the data with them. I'm saying, like, what do you need help with? Do we need to pull a kid? Do you need extra help with that? Like, and then I'm learning from them too, because sometimes teachers have a different perspective. And something that they say is challenging, I'm like, why is that? That's not that hard. I don't get it. But until you sit down and listen, like, maybe it is. Okay, it is that challenging. How can we support? And that's important. Like, that part is important.
That's beautiful. It's key. It's a key step that I think, you know, a lot of data-driven folks tend to skip that step, you know, because they are driven by the numbers so much. So I want to ask a question about the data piece, right?
Sure.
So talk a little bit about how are you looking at data now? How has it changed? What are some pivots that you've made in terms of looking at data? And can you share any progress that you've made thus far?
So it's early in the year. So what I will say is things that we've done differently this year when it comes to data that we have not done in the past, even though we've obviously utilized data every single year, and that is our North Star. Right. But this year we kind of like have it in front of us. So, you know, with COVID and everything and having those pandemic years where everything kind of like turned virtual and you're not really having anything on paper, we kind of went back to paper this year. And so it's a little different, but I like it. And so every teacher has their own, you know, data binder. We're actually printing out our data because we're so used to seeing everything online. Like, you could just pull it up. We have access to everything. But to sit down when we're trying to make plans and look at things and create a plan and see, like, which students are here, there, who can we move, who needs to be in a small group. Sometimes you really have to have that printed out. Sometimes you really need a paper plan. And so it's a little different than what we've been doing. The data is now at your fingertips, instead of just kind of like pulling it up, like you're pulling it up. We have our own, and we bring it to the meetings every single week. Also, in terms of in the room, the space that we're in. Before, we were just kind of having conversations. You know, we're talking about it, what needs to be changed. But in the space we're in, we're looking at the pacing. We're looking at, well, where are you at? Where should we be at? Okay, how can we get there, right? Where are the students at? Are they logging on? What does the data show? What are the percentages?
Right.
Okay, the percentages are kind of low. What's happening there at that time? Then we find there's a root cause that we didn't think about. It was a scheduling issue.
Right.
Okay, let's fix the schedule. But we may not have ever gotten to that. We're just kind of like pulling up on the screen. Right. You know, you need to have it in front of you. So in terms of data pieces, we have it more at the forefront. And every week we send out I have a newsletter that goes out just to staff. But in the newsletter, all the data points are in there. So we try to add attendance data points now. This is where we were in October. This was the data for every single grade level. We need to be at 94% at the end of the year. Right now, we're at such and such percent. This is how much you need to get there. So how are we encouraging them?
Right.
Math data. Where are they at on the platforms? How many children were in green? How many children were in yellow? Which teacher did what? It's like a little competition sometimes.
Right.
So all of the data pieces are now being shown more often. During our leadership team meetings with my leadership team, we are making sure every single time pulling up the data. This is where we were last year. What kind of things did we do? What did we say was our action plan last year? How are we comparing it to this year? Did we do all the things?
Right.
No. Which ones didn't we? And so when you're asking about like the data in terms of improvement, I would say at this current point in time, because it's kind of early in the year, the improvement is how we look at it, how often we look at it, and what we're doing with it.
Absolutely.
That we weren't necessarily always doing in the past.
Beautiful.
And
yeah.
so I'm really, really proud of that. I feel like by the end of the second quarter, which will be like halfway through the year, we'll be able to see things like even as much as grades. I'm pulling up every single grade level, how many children failed, and like who passed, who failed, how many, how, and what difference, what have we done for them?
Right.
And so I'm hoping by the end of the next quarter, we'll be a little further into the year after a lot of it and staying consistent. We're going to start to see this shift because everyone's like, we might as well just get on board because she is just going to just keep going. I am. I'm going to keep pushing because I know that we're capable. We are. And it's a challenge. It's a challenge working in an urban setting. It's a challenge when, you have scores that are, children are working below grade level, and not all of them, but many. And so what can we do? We need to get them. These are our future leaders. Like they are going to be the future leaders of our city.
That's
so
right.
I need to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to make sure that they are as successful as possible.
That's right.
That's it. That's right. The goal. And I have to. That's it. And so, it's like surgery.
I think there's a couple of things that you said that are just so spot on. Like one, just the passion around like, this is the goal, period, point blank. Like, this is the future of the city. These are the kids that are going to be governing everything that we do. Everything. Right. So we have to invest in them. We have to.
And they're going to be great.
I talk a lot about the history of public education, how it wasn't built for Black and brown people in the first place, right? So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now, but it has to be something that is, we have to do things differently. And the part of courageous leadership, being a confident leader, is knowing, like you remember back at the school we were in, we would have people coming from the district and they would go blah, 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 blah. And we'd go, yep. And then when they left, we did our own thing, right? Because we knew what was best for the kids in our building, right? And so that's what I'm hearing you talk about, is like you're getting your team together, your whole staff community together to really talk about the things that matter. How are we caring for our kids first as human beings? And then how are we moving them along? Like how are we closing these gaps that we're seeing? And the fact that you mentioned like the way you're using data is more public. You're damn right. It's a public school.
It's a lot.
The information is public information.
Yeah, it's public anyway. And so it's being transparent about it, having conversations about it, and saying right at the front, like, I know this can be better. Like, I am aware that this can be better, and I want better for us. That's really it. And I think everybody's on board with that. And that's another key piece. Like I have a great group around me. Everyone's on board. Like we're on board to do this. And that it's challenging work. It's challenging work. You have to do what you know is going to work. And it's not always going to be a happy day. Some days are great. Some days are, and if you don't make it, you have to be ready to say, okay, if we didn't meet this goal, we have to go back to the drawing board. Like, what can we do differently? It's tiring. But there's always an answer that you could try.
It is, which is one of the reasons, principals need support. They need a coach.
You need a coach.
Principals need a coach. The work is really hard.
And let me say this about what you just mentioned about needing a coach. What I enjoy about having a coach is having someone there that's neutral. And I know that like I'm talking to my coach, but my coach is not, you know, going to come down on me because my coach is not giving me a score. This is not about scoring me. This is about supporting me.
Yep.
Okay, these are the decisions that I made today. What are your thoughts on that? But it's not punitive. It's, is that what you did today? Let's unpack that together.
Yeah.
Like having somebody that is there for you, that really wants to see you successful, like, you know, talking within this program and having, you know, someone that says like, okay, you could have maybe done something better. Here are my thoughts. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that because it helps me with my reflection. You need a coach that's going to support you in this work because it's challenging and you're alone.
Yeah.
That's another piece to it. You know, you're alone at the top, you know, you're by yourself.
That's right.
That's really it. So it's nice to have, you know, someone to talk to about what's happening where, listen, I'm still going to make my own decisions no matter what you say. But I like that you told me that because you know what, that might shift what I do tomorrow.
Yeah.
To something even better.
You've always been that reflective person and always ask questions. That's always been you. And I have to say, I'm so glad that you know, are participating in the program. I think
I love it.
Just the perfect candidate for it because you want to learn. You're always willing to try new things. What can I do next? And you're always moving like this. So I know, like, as I'm sharing information in our classroom, like you're on it, you know?
Yeah.
Before the program even started, you texted me like, okay, what do we need to do first?
How do I log in? Where do I go to? I see this, I see that. Do I log into both?
Right.
Because once I get the hang of it, and I got the hang of it now, I know where to go. And so for me, like my Sunday evening, that's my time to say, like, I'm going to start planning for my week. I'm going to get things together. And Sunday evening, I sit down, and the first thing I want to do is log in to the classroom so that I can look and see, let's see what Dr. Thomas has posted in here. What can I utilize to support me? I'm sitting down reading like, well, that's good. Okay. And I might not use it that particular week. I have gone back to week 2 and week 3, even though I'm up to like week 14, I have gone back to week 2 and 3. Like, you know what? I didn't utilize this resource. Now is the time.
Yeah.
So even though it might not be in that moment that it is posted, it's there and it doesn't disappear. I can go back through the archives and it's just been so good for me. I appreciate this so much. And it just kept me on my toes. Like you always need an accountability person, or at least I should say, let me use my I statements. I always need an accountability person because I know someone is looking for me to like, did you do it? And I need that.
Yeah.
Everybody has different needs. That's a need for me. And because I know that I'm going to check in, I'm going to check in next week. Let me make sure I get this done. Let me make sure I checked it.
That's right.
And that's where coaching comes into support. You know, everybody needs that.
Yeah.
Whatever your goals are.
You always send me a text before we have our one-on-ones. Like, is it something that's supposed to? Is it in the classroom? I got to check the classroom. Hold on.
Let's check on. Did you? Am I supposed to read that first? Wait, let me go log on. I missed that. Let me log in. Let me check that.
I absolutely love your energy. Your energy gives me life, honey. Let me tell you, it gives me life.
Fun. And it's fun too. So it helps me smile too, because in this work, we don't always smile. We want to be truthful about it, right? We want to tell the truth about things. You don't always smile, you know, with this work. Some of it is really hard and challenging. Some nights I cry, you know what I mean? Like I'm just being honest. It's heavy work. It's not just math and reading. It's not. And so having a coach supports through that emotional piece also, that I feel affirmed with coaching. That yes, you got this. I appreciate when that's stated to me, because when you're alone in this work, you don't always have you got this person there right there, you know? So I love that. I really do.
You're doing amazing. I'm excited.
Thank you.
I'm excited to see the work that's going to come out of it and how your students are moving and how your staff are moving along in this work too. So that you can you're creating this instructional culture in your building that's changing the narrative for kids. Because that's what this is about, right? It's changing the narrative for kids. And so I truly appreciate you.
And I appreciate you, honestly.
All right, y'all, there you have it. A glimpse into the transformative journey of Principal Davis. So a big thank you
Thank
to
you.
you for being a guest on the Be About It podcast. And like I always say to you, keep going. Keep going. I
Yeah, I
appreciate you.
appreciate it. And you keep being about it, okay? Because you are the truth.
All right, you hold on, okay?
Okay.
All right, I think the live has ended. Let me